Colt Gray was just 14 when he carried out Georgia's deadliest school shooting. Michael Carneal opened fire on a prayer group as a young teen, and Craig Price became America's youngest serial killer at only 13. These kids committed murders that reshaped juvenile justice laws, starting with a recent case still unfolding in court today. Colt Gray. On September 4, 2024, 14-year-old Colt Gray carried out the deadliest school shooting in Georgia's history at Apalachee High School. Gray had concealed an AR-15-style rifle in his backpack, disguising it as a school project. After leaving his algebra class, he retrieved the weapon and began firing. The attack killed 4 people: students Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angulo, both 14, and teachers Richard Aspinwall, 39, and Christina Irimi, 53. A notebook found in his classroom contained detailed attack plans, including classroom diagrams and casualty estimates of up to 26 killed and 13 wounded. The warning signs were present but missed. In May 2023, the FBI had investigated Gray after anonymous tips about online threats, but found no probable cause for arrest. Gray's mental health deteriorated significantly before the attack. He experienced a severe anxiety attack on August 14, 2024, and asked his mother to admit him to a mental facility on August 31st. These cries for help went unanswered due to family disputes and financial constraints. Gray was charged as an adult with 55 counts, including 4 counts of malice murder and multiple assault charges. He pleaded not guilty in October 2024. As of July 2025, Gray remains incarcerated at the Gainesville Regional Youth Detention Center, where he can stay until his 17th birthday in January 2027. If convicted, he faces life in prison without the possibility of the death penalty due to his age. Staying in 2024 but crossing the Atlantic, we encounter a case that shocked the United Kingdom with its planned brutality. Nicholas Prosper. In September 2024, 18-year-old Nicholas Prosper murdered his entire family in their Luton, UK flat as part of a broader plan to become the world's most famous school shooter of the 21st century. On September 13, 2024, Prosper used a double-barreled shotgun purchased illegally the previous day for $650 with a forged firearms license to kill his mother Juliana Falcon, 48, his brother Kyle, 16, and his sister Giselle, 13. The murders were meticulously planned. Prosper aimed to kill 34 people total. His family, 30 children, 2 teachers, and himself, to surpass historical school shooting death tolls. He had conducted reconnaissance on St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School a year prior, noting schedules and security systems. He even designed a distinctive black and yellow uniform for his planned attack. The violence that night was extreme. Prosper shot his mother in the head after she tried to wrestle the shotgun away, shot Kyle in the chest before stabbing him over 100 times, and shot Giselle in the head as she hid. His plan was disrupted when the struggle with his mother became noisy, prompting neighbors to call police at 5:30 a.m. A note found in his cell detailed his massacre plan, and he told a prison practitioner he wanted to be famous and well known. On March 19, 2025, Prosper was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 49 years. In July 2025, the Court of Appeal upheld this sentence, rejecting arguments for a whole life order due to his youth. He remains in a UK high-security prison deemed highly dangerous with little prospect of early release. Across the Atlantic, another case would shake America to its core with its racial motivations. Peyton Gendron. On May 14, 2022, 18-year-old Peyton Gendron drove 200 miles from his home in Conklin, New York, to a Tops Friendly Market supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood of Buffalo. Armed with a legally purchased Bushmaster XM15 rifle modified with illegal high-capacity magazines, Gendron carried out a racially motivated attack that killed 10 people and wounded 3 others. Of the 13 victims, 11 were black and 2 were white, underscoring the hate-driven nature of his assault. Gendron's radicalization occurred primarily online during the COVID-19 pandemic. He subscribed to the Great Replacement theory, a racist conspiracy alleging white populations are being systematically replaced by non-white immigrants. His 180-page manifesto, posted online before the attack, detailed his motivations and drew inspiration from the Christchurch mosque shooter. He even live-streamed the attack on Twitch using a helmet-mounted camera, though the platform removed the stream within 2 minutes. The attack was meticulously planned over months. Gendron conducted a reconnaissance visit to Buffalo in 2021 to scout the supermarket and study the area's demographics. There were warning signs that went unaddressed. In March 2022, Gendron's writings raised concerns at his high school when he made disturbing comments about wanting to commit a mass shooting. This led to a mental health evaluation by New York State Police, but he was released after a day and a half with no further action. In November 2022, Gendron pleaded guilty to 15 state charges, including 10 counts of first-degree murder with domestic terrorism enhancement. On February 15, 2023, he was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences without parole, plus an additional 75 years. Our next case takes us to Michigan, where a school shooting made legal history by holding parents accountable. Ethan Crumbley. November 30th, 2021 marked one of the darkest days in Michigan's history when 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley opened fire at Oxford High School, killing 4 students and wounding 7 others. The victims were Madison Baldwin, 17, Hannah St. Juliana, 14, Tate Meyer, 16, and Justin Schilling, 17. The warning signs were unmistakable and tragically ignored. On the morning of the shooting, school officials met with Crumbley and his parents after discovering disturbing drawings and writings on his homework, including phrases like, "The thoughts won't stop, help me," and images of guns and blood. Despite these clear red flags, his parents declined to take him home, citing work obligations, and the school allowed him to return to class with the weapon still in his backpack. Crumbley's deteriorating mental state was documented in journals recovered by investigators. He wrote, "I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the fucking school." He reported hearing voices, experiencing paranoia, and having suicidal thoughts. He also expressed a desire to leave a lasting impact, writing, "I want to be remembered." The case made legal history with the prosecution of Crumbley's parents. James and Jennifer Crumbley were convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2024 and sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison for failing to address their son's mental health and secure the firearm. This marked a rare instance of parental accountability in a school shooting case. On October 24, 2022, Crumbley pleaded guilty to all 24 charges, including 4 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole on December 8, 2023. Heading south to Texas, we find ourselves in legal limbo with a case that mental illness has left unresolved. Dimitrios Pagortzis. On May 18, 2018, 17-year-old Dimitrios Pagortzis walked into Santa Fe High School in Texas and opened fire, killing 10 people and injuring 13 others. Using a .38 caliber handgun and a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun, both legally owned by his parents, Pagortzis carried out what became the 8th deadliest school shooting in U.S. history. The victims included 8 students and 2 teachers, their lives cut short in a senseless act of violence. Pagortzis was heavily influenced by the 1999 Columbine shooting, wearing a black trench coat and combat boots to emulate the Columbine shooters. He posted a t-shirt with "Born to Kill" on social media and had searched for information about Columbine, kamikaze tactics, and violent ideation. His journals revealed meticulous planning, and he intended to commit suicide afterward, but surrendered instead. The case revealed a complex web of mental health issues and family dysfunction. Pagortzis was later diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, with his first psychotic break occurring during the shooting. Adding to his distress was reported bullying by students and teachers, with journal entries stating, "I am so sick of being treated like a second-class citizen." His defense highlighted his feelings of rejection and ostracism, compounded by the suicide of a close uncle before the shooting. Pagortzis was charged with capital murder and aggravated assault, but has been deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial since November 2019. As of January 24, 2025, he remains at the maximum security unit of the hospital with no trial date set due to his ongoing mental incompetence. Moving from courtrooms to family homes, we examine a Houston tragedy born from domestic conflict. Anthony McCarty. On August 8, 2000, 16-year-old Anthony McCarty committed a quadruple homicide in Houston, Texas, killing his mother, stepfather, and 2 younger siblings aged 11 and 8. The murders, carried out using both a knife and a firearm, stemmed from family conflicts and mental health issues that had been left unaddressed. The case highlighted the devastating consequences when troubled youth lack proper support systems and mental health intervention. The decision to try McCarty as an adult reflected the severity of the crime and Texas's approach to serious juvenile offenses. Under Texas law, juveniles as young as 14 can be certified as adults for capital crimes like murder, especially when multiple victims are involved. The prosecution likely argued that the quadruple murder demonstrated a level of violence and premeditation that warranted adult prosecution. In 2001, McCarty was convicted of 4 counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. This sentence reflected Texas's options for juvenile offenders at the time, balancing punishment with the potential for rehabilitation, given his age. The life with parole sentence means McCarty must serve a minimum of 40 years before becoming eligible for parole consideration. As of July 2025, McCarty remains incarcerated in the Texas prison system, having served 24 years of his sentence. His parole eligibility date is approximately 2041, when he will be around 56 years old. The case serves as a stark reminder of how family dysfunction and untreated mental health issues can culminate in unthinkable violence when proper intervention fails to occur. From family violence violence, we turn to one of the most psychologically complex school shootings in American history. Kip Kinkle. In May 1998, 15-year-old Kipland Kip Kinkle's name became synonymous with one of the most shocking school shootings in American history when he killed his parents and then opened fire at Thurston High School in Springfield, Oregon. On May 20th, 1998, after being suspended for bringing a stolen gun to school, Kinkle shot and killed his father, Bill, 59, and mother, Faith, 57, at their family home. The next morning, he drove to school and opened fire in the cafeteria, killing students Ben Walker, 16, and Mikael Nicolason, 17, while wounding 25 others. Kinkle's case was particularly disturbing due to the clear signs of mental illness that went undiagnosed and untreated. From age 12, he experienced auditory hallucinations and delusions, including believing that the Walt Disney Company and the government had implanted a microchip in his head. These voices reportedly urged him to commit violent acts, particularly intensifying after his suspension. Despite his parents' efforts to seek help, including therapy sessions, his underlying paranoid schizophrenia remained undiagnosed. The warning signs extended beyond mental health issues. Kinkle had an intense fascination with firearms and explosives from an early age, building gasoline-based bombs and detonating them in a quarry. Police discovered 5 homemade bombs at the Kinkle home, along with a hand grenade and other explosive materials. In September 1998, Kinkle pleaded guilty to all charges to avoid a trial that would further traumatize victims. In 1999, he was sentenced to 111 years and 8 months without parole under Oregon's Measure 11. He currently remains at Oregon State Correctional Institution in Salem, where he has received mental health treatment and earned a college degree. Our journey takes us to America's last frontier, where isolation and trauma converged in deadly fashion. Evan Ramsey. On February 19, 1997, the small, isolated community of Bethel, Alaska, was forever changed when 16-year-old Evan Ramsey carried out Alaska's first and only documented school shooting at Bethel Regional High School. Using a Mossberg 512-gauge shotgun, Ramsey killed Principal Ron Edwards Sr., 50, and sophomore Josh Palacios, 15, while wounding 2 others. The 15-minute attack marked a tragic milestone for the state and highlighted the devastating effects of trauma, bullying, and peer manipulation. Ramsey's path to violence was marked by severe childhood trauma. His father jailed after an armed standoff, his mother lost to alcoholism, and years of abuse in 11 foster homes. Bullied relentlessly and battling depression since age 10, when he attempted suicide, Ramsey spiraled further. What made his case particularly disturbing was the peer involvement in planning the attack. In the 2 weeks leading up to the shooting, Ramsey shared his plans with over 15 students, 2 of whom actively encouraged him. James Randall taught him how to load and fire the shotgun, while Matthew Charles spoke of the infamy that would follow. On the day of the shooting, several students brought cameras to school and watched from the library balcony, indicating a disturbing level of peer complicity. Ramsey surrendered to police after gym teacher John Lane heroically intervened, likely preventing further casualties. Ramsey was tried as an adult and convicted on December 2, 1998, of 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of first-degree attempted murder, and 15 counts of third-degree assault. He is currently incarcerated at Wildwood Correctional Complex in Kenai, Alaska, and is eligible for parole in 2066, when he will be 85 years old. From Alaska's tundra to Mississippi's heartland, we encounter a case steeped in occult influences and dark manipulation. Luke Woodham. On October 1, 1997, 16-year-old Luke Woodham turned Pearl, Mississippi into a scene of horror. That morning, he murdered his mother, Mary Ann, in a brutal knife attack, then drove to Pearl High School, killing his ex-girlfriend Christina Menifee and student Lydia Dew, and wounding 7 others. Woodham's rampage stemmed from years of bullying, his parents' bitter divorce, heartbreak over his breakup with Menifee, and the dark influence of an occult group called the Croth. The Croth, led by an older teen named Grant Boyette, was fixated on themes of Satanism, Hitler, and spellcasting. Woodham's involvement with this group deepened after his breakup, with Boyette allegedly encouraging him to act on his rage by killing his mother and targeting his ex-girlfriend. A particularly disturbing incident involved Woodham and Boyette torturing and killing Woodham's dog Sparkle in April 1997, an act Woodham described in his diary as his first kill. His manifesto, handed to friend Justin Sledge during the shooting, read, "I am not insane, I am angry. I killed because people like me are mistreated every day." Assistant Principal Joel Myrick, armed with a .45 caliber pistol, confronted Woodham as he attempted to flee, detaining him until police arrived. Woodham was tried as an adult in 2 separate trials in 1998, both held in Hattiesburg due to extensive publicity. He was convicted of murdering his mother and received a life sentence without parole, then convicted of the school murders and received 2 additional life terms plus 140 years. As of May 2025, Woodham is incarcerated in Unit 2 of the South Mississippi Correctional Institution probation and is eligible for parole in 2046. Staying in the South, we examine a Kentucky tragedy that began with a prayer circle and ended in lifelong imprisonment. Michael Carneal. December 1, 1997 marked a dark day in the small community of West Paducah, Kentucky, when 14-year-old Michael Carneal opened fire on a student prayer group at Heath High School, killing 3 and wounding 5 others. Carneal brought multiple firearms to school, including a stolen Ruger Mk2 .22 caliber pistol, and fired 10 rounds in rapid succession at the gathered students. Carneal's motivations were rooted in a complex web of mental health issues, bullying, and feelings of alienation. He reported experiencing bullying, including false rumors about his sexuality, and felt that his parents did not love him. Initially diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder and dysthymia, his condition was later reassessed as paranoid schizophrenia. During his 2022 parole hearing, Carneal testified that he heard voices urging violent actions, including one instructing him to steal the pistol and shoot into the crowd. He described feeling hyper-suspicious and alienated, with these voices persisting into adulthood. Tragically, he admitted to feeling responsible for subsequent school shootings, particularly Columbine, which led to suicidal ideation and hospitalization. In October 1998, Carneal pleaded guilty but mentally ill to 3 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, and 1 count of first-degree burglary. Due to his age, the death penalty was not applicable, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 25 years. He has been incarcerated at the Kentucky State Reformatory since June 1, 2001. Moving to Alabama, we uncover one of the most cold-blooded family massacres ever committed by a teenager. Mark Anthony Duke. March 23, 1997, witnessed one of Alabama's most shocking family murders when 16-year-old Mark Anthony Duke, motivated by anger over being denied use of his father's pickup truck, orchestrated the brutal killing of 4 family members. Duke, along with 19-year-old accomplice Michael Brandon Samra, murdered Duke's father Randy Gerald, Duke, 39, his father's fiancée Deidre Mims Hunt, 29, and her 2 daughters Chalisa Nicole Hunt, 6, and Chelsea Marie Hunt, 7. The murders were planned with chilling premeditation. Duke shot his father in the head and stabbed him with such force that the knife broke near the body. The violence escalated as Deidre Hunt attempted to flee with her daughters but was shot multiple times by Samra. Duke kicked in a bathroom door where Deidre and Chelsea were hiding, shot Deidre, and slit 6-year-old Chalisa's throat. 7-year-old Chelsea was found hiding under a bed, and Duke held her down while Samra slit her throat. The next morning, they returned to stage a robbery scene before Duke called 911, claiming they had killed his father. Duke was charged with capital murder and tried as an adult in 1999. The jury recommended death by a vote of 10-2, and he was sentenced to death by electrocution. However, the 2005 Supreme Court ruling in Roper v. Simmons, which banned capital punishment for offenders under 18, vacated Duke's death sentence. He was resentenced to life imprisonment without parole in 2005. Duke is currently serving his sentence at Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore, Alabama. His accomplice, Michael Brandon Samra, who was 19 at the time and thus eligible for the death penalty, was executed by lethal injection on May 16, 2019. The other 2 accomplices, Ellison and Collins, were released in 2013 after serving 16-year sentences for their lesser roles. Traveling west to Washington State, we explore a shooting that helped define the modern era of school violence. Barry Lukaitis. On February 2, 1996, 14-year-old Barry Lukaitis carried out one of America's first high-profile school shootings. Dressed like a Wild West gunslinger, he entered his frontier middle school algebra class with a rifle and 2 handguns, killing teacher Leona Carez and classmates Arnold Fritz and Manuel Vela Jr., and critically wounding 13-year-old Natalie Hintz. Lukaitis' actions were driven by a devastating combination of bullying, family dysfunction, and media influence. He faced relentless bullying at school, especially from Manuel Vela Jr., who taunted, spat on, and assaulted him. His awkward appearance and cowboy boots made him an easy target. At home, turmoil worsened after his parents' 1995 separation over his father's infidelity. His domineering mother battled depression, often speaking of suicide and even proposing a double suicide with him for Valentine's Day 1996, while financial struggles and constant fights deepened his despair. Lukaitis was heavily influenced by Stephen King's novel Rage, which depicts a student who kills teachers and takes a class hostage. He reportedly quoted the book during the attack, saying, "This sure beats algebra, doesn't it?" He was also influenced by Pearl Jam's Jeremy music video and films like Natural Born Killers and The Basketball Diaries. In September 1997, Lukaitis was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree attempted murder, and 16 counts of aggravated kidnapping. He was resentenced in 2017 to 189 years with parole eligibility after 25 years. He is currently incarcerated at Clallam Bay Correction Center and became eligible for parole consideration around 2022. From school hallways to California groves, we delve into a satanic murder that inspired Hollywood horror. Jacob DeLachette. While often confused with other cases, Jacob DeLachette was actually one of 3 teenagers convicted in the brutal satanic murder of 15-year-old Elise Parler in Arroyo Grande, California on July 22, 1995. Along with accomplices Royce Casey, 17, and Joseph Fiorella, 15, the 16-year-old DeLachette participated in what they described as a sacrifice to Satan. The trio, who had formed a death metal band called Hatred, believed killing a virgin would enhance their band's success and earn them a ticket to hell. The murder was planned for months, with the group specifically targeting Parler because of her blonde hair, blue eyes, and presumed virginity. They lured her to a remote eucalyptus grove under the pretense of smoking marijuana together. DeLachette initiated the attack by strangling Parler with his belt. Then Fiorella stabbed her 4 to 6 times in the neck with a hunting knife. DeLachette then took the knife and stabbed her 4 to 5 more times, followed by Casey stabbing her 4 times in the back. She died slowly from blood loss, as none of the 12-15 stab wounds were immediately fatal. All 3 were arrested in 1996 and charged with first-degree murder, gang involvement, rape, torture, and conspiracy. Each was convicted in 1997 and sentenced to 25 to 26 years to life in prison. DeLachette was tried as an adult despite being 16 at the time of the crime. As of 2023, DeLachette is incarcerated at the Correctional Training Facility in Soledad, California, with a parole hearing scheduled for December 2024. The Parler family has expressed strong opposition to his release. Returning to the Deep South, we encounter another family annihilation that tested the limits of juvenile justice. Stephen Virgil McGilbory. In October 1994, in the small community of St. Martin, Mississippi, 16-year-old Stephen Virgil McGilbory brutally murdered 4 family members using baseball bats. The victims were his mother, Patricia Purifoy, 44, his stepfather, Kenneth Purifoy, 44, his half-sister, Kimberly Self, 24, and his 3-year-old nephew, Christopher Self. McGilbory's motive was anger over being grounded and denied use of the family car following his expulsion from school and loss of a job. McGilbory enlisted the help of a 14-year-old accomplice, Chris Johnson, and they planned to steal Kimberly's green GEO Storm to sell for cash or drugs in New Orleans. Initially considering slitting the victims' throats, they opted to use baseball bats after finding the original plan impractical. The crime scene was particularly horrific. The next morning, when police arrived at the home, McGilbory confessed to the killings after waiving his Miranda rights. McGilbory was indicted on 4 counts of capital murder while engaged in robbery and tried as an adult. On February 8, 1996, a jury convicted him on all counts, and the next day he was sentenced to death. However, following the 2005 Supreme Court ruling in Roper v. Simmons, which banned executing minors, his death sentence was commuted to 4 consecutive life sentences without parole. McGilbory remains incarcerated in Mississippi, serving his life sentences with no possibility of release. Moving to the heartland, we examine how a simple family dispute escalated into quadruple murder. Robert Craig. In July 1994, the city of Oklahoma City was shocked by a horrific family annihilation when 17-year-old Robert Craig murdered his mother, stepfather, and 2 step-siblings aged 10 and 13. The murders were carried out using both firearms and knives, stemming from ongoing family conflicts that had reached a breaking point. The quadruple homicide represented one of the most devastating family murders in Oklahoma's history during that decade. Craig was tried as an adult, reflecting Oklahoma's laws that allowed juveniles as young as 16 to be prosecuted as adults for serious violent crimes. The decision was likely influenced by the severity of the quadruple murder and concerns about public safety. In 1995, he was convicted on 4 counts of first-degree murder, with the jury finding sufficient evidence of premeditation and intent to kill multiple family members. The court sentenced Craig to life without parole, ensuring he would never be released from prison. This sentence reflected both the heinous nature of the crimes and Oklahoma's approach to juvenile offenders who commit the most serious offenses. The life without parole sentence was particularly significant given Craig's youth, but the multiple victims and family relationship likely influenced the court's decision to impose the harshest possible penalty. As of 2025, Craig remains incarcerated in an Oklahoma adult prison facility, having served over 30 years of his life sentence. Crossing continents to India, we discover how family abuse and greed created a teenage killer, Sajjal Baruwi. On November 22, 1993, the city of Kolkata, India, witnessed one of its most shocking juvenile crimes when 16-year-old Sajal Barui orchestrated the brutal murder of his father Subal Barui, stepmother Neoti Barui, and half-brother Kajal Barui. Along with 5 teenage accomplices, all aged 16-17, Barui carried out the murders in their 4th-floor apartment at Subham Apartments in Dum-Dum, North Kolkata. The case garnered massive attention due to both the gruesome nature of the crimes and the fact that all perpetrators were minors. Barui was born from an extramarital affair between his father and a woman named Minati, but was taken to live with his father's wife Neoti when he was 8, after which he had no contact with his biological mother. He reported experiencing severe abuse from his stepmother and half-brother, including being burned with cigarettes and hot irons. Combined with influence from friends who suggested he could inherit family property by eliminating his relatives, this abuse motivated Barui to plan the murders. The ordeal lasted nearly 3 hours, after which the killers cleaned their weapons with mustard oil, ate sweets from the fridge, and left coins as payment. In 1995, Barui was initially sentenced to death as the primary conspirator, while his 5 accomplices received life imprisonment. However, in 1997, the Calcutta High Court set aside his death sentence, citing his juvenile status, and ordered a fresh trial that resulted in a life sentence. Under India's Juvenile Justice Act amendments, Barui was released on bail in August 2010 at age 33. However, he was arrested again in 2011 for involvement in a robbery. We conclude our journey with America's youngest serial killer, whose reign of terror began before most children learned to drive. Craig Price. Known as the youngest serial killer in US history, Craig Price began his killing spree at just 13 years old in the quiet neighborhood of Buttonwoods in Warwick, Rhode Island. On July 27, 1987, Price broke into the home of 27-year-old Rebecca Spencer and stabbed her 58 times with a kitchen knife taken from her own home. This murder remained unsolved for 2 years until Price's later confession revealed the horrifying truth about their young neighbor. On September 1, 1989, 15-year-old Craig Price, high on marijuana and LSD, committed his most savage crime. He broke into the Heaton home, stabbing Joan Heaton 57 times, her 10-year-old daughter Jennifer 62 times, and crushing 8-year-old Melissa's skull with a stool before stabbing her 30 more times. Arrested days later with bloody evidence at home, Price calmly confessed to all 4 murders, even mimicking his victims' dying sounds. His chilling lack of remorse shocked investigators who already knew him for theft, assault, and drug use. Due to Rhode Island law at the time, Price could not be tried as an adult regardless of his crime's severity. He was sentenced to detention until his 21st birthday in 1994, with his records to be sealed upon release. However, his violent behavior in custody led to additional charges for criminal contempt, extortion, and assault, extending his incarceration. On April 4, 2017, at Suwannee Correctional Institution in Florida, Price stabbed fellow inmate Joshua Davis with a homemade knife in a premeditated attack. On January 18, 2019, he pleaded guilty to attempted murder and received a 25-year sentence plus 10 years of probation. He remains incarcerated in Florida State Prison. Thanks for watching. If you found this video shocking and thrilling, be sure to check out other similar and amazing videos on the screen. I'll see you in the next video.